There have been rumors that the Montreal Canadiens have been looking for a right-shot defenseman for a while, and now it does seem like we have absolute confirmation from a real insider. Kent Hughes, general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, has been in contact with other teams to see if they can figure this out. Now, there have been trade rumors swirling of a possible new hook for Dante Fabro move between the Predators and the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the Nashville Predators have had a pretty bad, actually not even just pretty bad, a downright terrible start to the season, but this actually might make a lot of sense. Fabro is a pretty decent right-hand shot defenseman. I'm not saying he's a big name that the Canadiens might want, but he can certainly play more than you might think, right? For the past couple of seasons, he's been playing about 16-17 minutes average, which is bottom pair minutes. But before that, he was playing about 19 minutes time on ice. So he has played in somewhat of a top four role at some point in his career. Now, this actually might make sense because of that. Like, maybe they can get a little bit more value than the Predators are out of Fabro, right? When it comes to Alex Newhook, he is a player that has never really come out of his shell. He was drafted by Colorado, 16th overall, and he never really hit the ceiling that Colorado thought he would, and now he is a Montreal Canadien. He's about a 30-point player, so I'm not going to call Newhook any more than a third line, maybe a guy that can jump up on your second line. So this might actually make a lot of sense for them, right? You have a situation where two players are kind of playing a little bit further down your lineup. Maybe they might be able to play a little bit higher, and maybe that might make sense, right? And to top it all off, their contracts kind of are actually, well, not completely similar, but the AAV is relatively similar, where Fabro is getting about 2.5 and Newhook is getting 2.9. So that might make sense. Now, I actually talked about how the Montreal Canadiens might want to aim a little bit higher. I had a video a while back I made where I was talking about Aaron Ekblad, and I was saying, well, maybe they might want to go after a player like him. I believe he is going to be a UFA soon. I mean, he's a really good player. You might want to go after a player like that. So you can say really anything about this, but here's the thing. The reality around the NHL is that nobody really trades right shot defensemen necessarily, like especially top four guys. So that's why a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans might not like this rumor, because it's like, well, it's only Dante Fabro. But when you have this type of rumor, it's like, you do just need to get what you can, especially like what I would aim for. This is why I don't mind this trade rumor. What I would personally aim for with the Canadiens is a player that's playing in a third line role that you might be able to see playing in a top four role. Now, I mean, a lot of these players are going to have some question marks around them. You could even see something like a Timothy Liljegren, right? Like $3 million. I mean, he's buried in the Leafs. He's had some success in a second pairing role. I mean, it's not that I think the Canadiens and the Leafs would really make any trades, although it's kind of weird that is taboo in general. Like, I don't really like that, how that's so taboo. Like, oh, to make a trade with a team like the Montreal or Toronto, like it just never really happens as much as it should, although it did happen when the Montreal Canadiens traded Plekanec to the Leafs, I remember. And, I'm trying to think of any more decent right-hand shot guys that are going to be on the trade market or something like that the Canadiens could go for. I mean, it does really always seem that almost every NHL team needs like a centerman, or they need like a right shot defenseman, because both of those positions are just so hard to find, especially right-hand shooting defensemen. Like, I was watching the Leaf Report podcast recently, and they were talking about like how this is why players like Jake McCabe and these guys are signed, and why you look at these contracts and you're like, oh man, that's kind of a garbage contract, because it's just so hard to find the position and nobody trades top four defensemen. So when you have a top four defenseman, it is just kind of like, maybe you just shouldn't let them go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you should just keep that player, even if you're going to have to give them a bad contract. Now, Siegel was saying, well, no, you could just trade for one. I actually agree with James Myrtle in this regard, because he was saying you just got to sign these guys. If you're in a cup contending window, you just got to sign them. Like, there's an argument that just sign them. Like, who are you going to replace them with? And then you're going to be a significantly worse team. And then what are you going to do, right? Like, I know the Montreal Canadiens would want to hear a lot more than Dante Fabro. Like, I understand the criticism, but like, who like, you know, drop it in the comments. If you have a disagreement, say this is maybe what I would consider. But I think that these trades are just exceptionally difficult to figure out, and I don't know, man. Like, the Montreal Canadiens are just going to have to get what they can get. I haven't always minded Fabro, though. He's a decent player. He just isn't a solidified top 4 defenseman, in my opinion. But he shoots right, so that's going to give him plus value, right? I mean, trade winds have been swirling at the start of the season. I don't know if they ever really fully stop, but I would say that, like, we're going to see the Leafs probably making a trade pretty soon, and signings. It feels like the Leafs are talking to almost all their players and re-signing them, which I don't really get it. The Montreal Canadiens have for a long time been wanting a top 4 right-hand shot D. Now, you can criticize what this trade rumor is, but they've been in on that for a while. The Calgary Flames need a center, so it's always the same thing, right? So no wonder the Leafs are playing Pontus Holmberg way higher than he should be. Like, they're obviously that's going to happen. Anyways, I am going to leave this video, the trade video, there. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would appreciate that. Tell me why I'm wrong and tell me why I'm right. Put it below, and have a great day, guys. Goodbye.